Let's bring in MS Now's David Noriega in Tel Aviv, Israel, our White House reporter Jake Traylor in Washington, and retired Navy Vice Admiral Robert Harward. So, Jake, talk to us about this decision now by the president to back off his threat for now.
Yeah, Anna, look, I mean, first it was 48 hours, then that got extended, then it was 5 days. Now, as of yesterday, the president is saying it's going to be 10 days. It's certainly worth noting that that comes as Wall Street saw one of, actually, its worst drop since the Iranian war began. And the president is defending his decision to extend it by saying that talks right now with Iran are going very well. That's in juxtaposition to, at the exact same time, we are seeing Iranian regime officials say that they by no means are negotiating this 15-point peace plan that was initially proposed by the United States. Trump went on Fox News shortly after the announcement on Truth Social yesterday, trying to defend his decision, saying that Iran initially asked for a 7-day extension and that he was willing to give them a 10-day extension. Anna, we have to note the pattern here. Democrats often refer to this as taco. Trump always chickens out. The White House defends it as strategy, but frequently now with Iran, but also with tariffs and multiple other examples, the president has consistently set a really hard deadline and then extended it over time. Very likely in this case, though the president and the White House won't say this, he certainly is tracking the markets, oil prices, and what happened at the stock market yesterday, and is in real time trying to adjust as they also seek an off-ramp in this war.
The Dow down about 400 points as we speak. In fact, we'll discuss more on the economic angle later this hour. But David, what is the state of play militarily? And do we have any idea if Iran actually did request this extension like the president said?
We don't really, Anna. As far as the negotiations, mostly they seem to be happening behind closed doors. That's why we have so much confusion about whether there are even formal negotiations taking place other than what we know is happening via Pakistan as an intermediary. Militarily, you know, when I spoke yesterday to an IDF spokesperson, he explained to me that from the Israeli perspective, at least, they have a list of many thousands of targets inside Iran, which they are systematically striking, sort of systematically moving down that list, and that any kind of political maneuvering by the United States or by Iran is irrelevant to their military objective. And they are proceeding with their military objective on a completely separate track, almost as if those political considerations were irrelevant. That is why they say they were successful in killing that Iranian naval commander yesterday, and they hope to have similar victories in the days to come. At the same time, Iran has in no way slowed down in its targeting of Israel. We've seen many barrages of ballistic missiles from Iran targeting different parts of Israel over the course of the last couple of days. Similarly, the war against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon has not calmed down at all. The IDF told me yesterday that their positions inside of Lebanese territory are at this point defensive, but very much left open the possibility that they might become offensive. I've mentioned a couple times now to you, Anna, that we should be paying attention to whether Israel pushes further into Lebanon and tries to hold territory there in any kind of prolonged, protracted way, because that will complicate any kind of future diplomatic negotiation. You know, as much as the Israelis want to say that the military campaign and the diplomatic negotiations are separate, they in fact are not, because you know, one of the demands that Iran has conveyed to the United States is that they want hostilities to cease not just in Iran but also in Lebanon against Hezbollah and against any other of Iran's proxies. Last thing I'll point out, Anna, is that there's some recent reporting from Reuters citing anonymous U.S. officials, intelligence officials, saying that they can only confirm that about a third of Iran's ballistic missiles have in fact been destroyed. If that is true, it's reminiscent of what happened last year in June after what's called the June War here, which was led by Israel, but with participation from the United States, in which both countries claimed that they had successfully obliterated Iran's nuclear program, only to, at the beginning of this war, say that there was, in fact, a nuclear program there left to be obliterated. So there's a pattern of both Israel and the United States overstating the extent of their military achievements and then going on to sort of walk that back to justify further military action, Anna.
And Admiral, as we mentioned, the Journal is now reporting the Pentagon's considering sending another 10,000 troops to the Middle East. These would be potential boots on the ground. That's on top of the thousands of Marines, the paratroopers that have already deployed in the past week. Is it possible this new 10-day deadline extension is just stalling until these troops arrive?
Well, I think it's like everything the president's done. He's confused everyone, and that's can be a successful strategy in itself while he weighs his options and positions for those options. It's funny, I've been here in Europe for the last week. I've been in several major capitals, and they all understand the Iranian threat and are in full support of the U.S. activities. In fact, you can see it on the ground at several of these capitals. So again, I think the administration is trying to keep our adversaries on their toes and weigh the options considering what the current state of play is. And the priorities remain moving ships through the Strait of Hormuz and eradicating the missile threat. And if ground troops can help with that, not just by going on the ground, but conducting maritime interception operations, seizing Iranian oil like they did to Venezuela, those are all options that they can pursue and execute.
And the White House saying that the movement of troops is in order to keep all options open for the president. The president did say Iran gave the U.S. a gift by letting 10 Pakistan-linked ships through the strait. Here was that moment during his cabinet meeting yesterday. Let's watch.
I told you about a present, right? Steve, can I reveal the present?
You can do anything you want.
Thank you. They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. And they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right, I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations.
Admiral, a senior person at the White House, tells MS Now that they think Iran's ability to hold the strait will erode over the next couple of weeks. And yet we also heard from David the reporting about only a third of Iran's missile arsenals destroyed. So how do you see it? Do you see Tehran's latest move as a gift? And do you agree they may only have 2 weeks to be able to hold on to the strait?
Well, it's the art of the deal that the president's well known for. Give a little leg to get a lot in back. And we know, or he knows, that we can take their oil, stop their flow of oil anytime we want. So let's give them a little something to get what we want back from them. And back to opening the straits, that's inevitable. It's a amount of time. And as I'm seeing support here in Europe for logistics, air support, stuff like that, I'm sure we'll see support for moving ships through the strait inevitably, because it's in everyone's best interest. And it further weakens the regime when we do that. So again, if the end state is regime change, as the Israelis have indicated, this all plays into that grander strategy.
It sounds like it plays into that end game that the Israelis are seeking, but the president of the U.S. has really backed off this idea of regime change being the end goal. And Jake, you have reporting about some consternation inside the White House. We saw more of Trump's optimistic, almost unbothered posture on this war in yesterday's meeting. But you're reporting about the serious friction behind the scenes over his messaging in particular. What have you learned?
Yeah, on a serious friction is right. I spoke with 3 different White House officials. 2 are still currently at the White House, who just detailed the tension inside the White House right now, the disagreements that's going on internally about the approach on the war with Iran, especially the messaging coming from President Trump and coming from the White House. I had one White House official who told me that most of Trump's language right now on the war is hyperbolic. Another told me that the president is bored with Iran and ready to move on. He's begun to kind of shift his focus and energy elsewhere. Another official told me that oftentimes the president is used to being able to lie in a certain way to the American people and eventually convince them that some of what he is saying is truth, and that doesn't quite necessarily apply when it comes to war like we're seeing right now. There's also this separate focus on frustration around the messaging of social media from the White House right now. We've seen a lot of these memes that the White House has been posting, kind of just playing lightly with the fact that we're at war, people are dying, including U.S. soldiers. And I had one White House official tell me that the war videos that are coming out of the White House right now are cringe, disrespectful, and gross. He said he was embarrassed for what he was seeing right now. And ultimately, I'll just say the through line here is that none of these officials, each of them told me, they are not saying these things publicly within the White House walls because they are fearful of some type of retribution against them if they speak their mind.
Your reporting's fascinating. I encourage all of our viewers to go to ms.now to read it. Jake Traylor, David Noriega, and Robert Harward, thank you very much. Still